Hello and welcome to NPT Community Reformer class. I'm Sally, and today we're going to be working on an intro to basic level reformer class, really following the PIC system categories. And our focus is going to be on printing or establishing a good active start position before we go into the movement sequence. So we're going to take some time looking at whenever we move into a new position through the body, how we connect before we move using the reformer. Okay, so we're going to come down and do our warm-up on the reformer today. So I've got my foot bar all the way down just so I can access the wooden platform. My headrest is all the way down, and I've just got two red springs on there to stabilize the carriage, just to make sure it doesn't move while we go through our foundation series. So coming down into our supine position, making sure that the feet are hip distance apart. If you can place the heel right in line with your sitting bone, and then just taking a moment to lie down and relax and focus on where the weight is distributed down through the body and into the mat, and just relax. So can we feel that from a strong connection of the foot, we're going to place the big toe, little toe, and center of the heel pad down into that wooden platform. We can feel how the foot connects up through the lower leg, down through the upper leg, and into the hip socket. And we're just going to focus on, well, where does the weight sit right now in the pelvis? Do I need to adjust it to get into my neutral zone? Just noticing how much arch or how little arch you have in your lumbar spine right now. And then focusing on where the weight is distributed through the back of the rib cage. Is it up towards your shoulder blades? Is it down towards the lower rib cage? And just feeling where you land. And focusing on where the weight of the head is falling, and how that alignment through the neck and the head is positioned. Focusing on the arms pressing gently down into the carriage there to focus on that connection from the hand into the shoulder joint. So bringing our awareness into our breath, we're going to take an inhale for a count of 5. And we're going to take an exhale for a count of 5. Can we focus on this diaphragmatical breathing? So as we inhale, we're going to notice that there's a rise of the sternum and a rise of the abdominal wall. And as you exhale, you're going to relax. And you're going to feel the fall of the chest. And you're going to feel the deepened connection or recruitment through the abdominal wall, the fall of the abdominal wall. So practice breathing in for a count of 5. And then breathing out for a count of 5. Making sure that we're still printing our supine position as we consciously breathe in, feeling the rise of the chest, and consciously breathe out, feeling the fall of the sternum and the pulling gently in of the abdominal wall. One more practice. Inhale for a count of 5. And really relaxing as you exhale. Feel the sinking down of the sternum towards the spine. Now we're going to change our breath focus now. Can we place the hands onto the lower portion of the rib cage? And focusing on that lateral thoracic breath now. So still breathing in for a count of 5. This time focusing the breath into the hands as you get that lateral expansion through the rib cage. And as you exhale, relax. Feel the drop of the sternum and feel the narrowing of the waistline. So can you breathe right in, feeling the lower rib cage expand, sending that breath right up underneath the armpit, into the back of the rib cage and lungs. And as you exhale, relaxing, feeling the pulling down and in of the sternum as you draw the waistline in a little narrower. Breath in. Slowly for a count of 5. Feel the stretch, feel the expansion. And as you exhale, Feel the relaxation and the recoil, and pushing all of the air out to get a deepening and a tightening. Breathing in. Feel the expansion. Feel it fill the rib cage. And as you exhale, relax. Relax the tension out of the body, out of the shoulders, and feel the recoil and the pull in. Last practice, inhale. Expanding out to the side and the back. Use the feedback that the carriage provides. And exhale, feel the relaxation and the recoil. We're going to bring the arms back down beside us, and we're going to take our imprinting now. So continue with the same breath focus. We're going to take an inhale to breathe into the side and the back of the rib cage and the lungs. This time, as you initiate that exhalation breath, we take that deeper into the pelvis and start rolling the pubic bone towards the sternum, just enough to imprint the lumbar vertebra onto the carriage. Can we feel how the inhalation rolls the pelvis back out into your neutral zone? So as you exhale, initiate from the breath, feel the pull of the pubic bone towards the sternum as you imprint the lumbar spine. Can we inhale and roll the pelvis back into our neutral zone? Making sure as we're coming into our imprint that we're not pushing too actively down into the feet. I don't want hamstrings and glutes yet. I want you to really focus on that core recruitment coming from that breath cycle. And the inhale is going to rock it back. So less is more for our imprint. As we exhale, we relax. We feel the pulling in. We feel the rock of the pelvic bowl into that posterior tilt. As we roll out, we feel how the tailbone gets a little heavier towards the mat to create that extension back into the lumbar spine. Last practice, exhalation pulls you into the posterior tilt. Pubic bone pulls towards the sternum, imprinting the lumbar spine. And the inhalation rolls us back out into our neutral zone. Feel the widening of the sitting bones and the dropping of the tailbone. Okay, from here, we're going to come into our pelvic curl. So feeling a little bit more activity down through the feet and down through the arms to connect us more. Using our exhalation, let's pull into our imprint and feel the load shift into the feet now as we start to bridge the pelvis and the spine up off the carriage. Taking an inhale as we reach full height in our bodies, and then exhale, softening the sternum and rolling the spine back down again to the carriage. Using an inhale breath as we rest in our neutral zone. Using the exhale as we come into our imprint. Feel the weight shift into the feet. Feel how the feet connect into our hip extensors as we lift the pelvis and the spine up off the carriage. Can we feel a forward pull through the kneecaps, reaching away from the shoulders as we bridge? Can we initiate the roll down from the sternum? We really feel the rib cage opening up as we place it back down onto the carriage. We place the lumbar spine down sequentially before the pelvis comes down. Breath in. Exhale, imprint. Press into the feet, rolling up. As we get warmer into this movement pattern, can we feel that we're pressing the arms actively down into the carriage? Can we maintain the pressure through the arms as we start to soften the sternum and roll the spine down? As you're descending out of your pelvic curl, can you feel the reach of the sitting bones towards the heels to elongate as we return back to the carriage? Breath in. And exhale, imprint. Press the feet down, lift the hips up. Extending the hips. Coming back into our neutral zone at the top of the pelvic curl. And then using the exhalation to drop the sternum. rolling the spine down, reaching the sitting bones to the heels as we place ourselves back into our supine position. Good. From here, we're going into chest lift 1. So taking an inhale to prepare, as we exhale, the sternum drops down, initiating the curl of the head, flexion at the thoracic, and reaching the arms long forward away to our heels. We're using an inhale breath, let's lower ourselves back down. So exhalation curls us up, nod the chin, soften the sternum, curl. Use the inhale breath, single breath cycle. Let's lower ourselves back down. Let's continue. Can we focus on the connection from the foot into the leg, into the hip, into the pelvis to keep our pelvises still as we're loading or flexing through the thoracic into our chest lift and coming back down again? Now I've chosen chest lift 1, nod the chin, soften the chest and curl up. So we can feel that there's energy through the arms right now, reaching our fingertips down towards our lower leg, mimicking our hands in straps, supine arms. Roll back down. And exhale, nod the chin, soften the chest and curl up. Use the inhale breath to lower back down. Let's take this into a 2-breath cycle. So we're going to use an exhale breath to curl the torso up. With the abdominals fully contracted, we're going to take a breath in to hold. Send that breath into the side and back of the rib cage and the lungs. And let's use an exhale to lower back down. Let's practice that 2-breath cycle again. Nod the chin, soften the chest, curl up. Hold, breathing in. Exhale, lower the spine back down, returning to the carriage. One more practice. Exhale, nod the chin, soften the chest, curl it up. Maintain the height of your chest lift as you breathe into the sides and the back of the rib cage. And exhale, lowering back down. Okay, good. Let's interlace the fingers behind the head. So just negotiate around your shoulder rests right now. And we're going to come into our hula 2. So can we make sure that the elbows are lifted so we can see them in our peripheral vision? And then from here, we're going to use the exhale to curl the chest up. We're going to stay lifted in our chest curl as we add rotation. So can we exhale and bring the armpit across towards the opposite knee? Can we inhale and return the chest back to the center? Can we exhale and rotate to the other side? Can we inhale and come back to the center? Now, quite challenging on our pelvic stability. Can we focus on that foot to hip connection to stabilize through the pelvis? Can we focus on that rotation coming from the rib cage, reaching and lifting the armpit across to the opposite knee and returning to the center? Exhale to rotate. Inhale back to the center. We've got one more on each side. And exhale. And from here, we're lowering the head back down in the center and bringing the arms back down. So from here, we're going to take a single leg lift. So take a moment just to establish the connection of the hand into the torso and the connection from the foot into the hip. We're going to take an inhale breath to prepare. And as we exhale, we're going to stabilize and we're going to float the right leg up into our tabletop position. Holding it here for a moment and just focusing on the difference between the closed chain and the open chain leg right now. So can we feel the connection from the foot into the hip on our closed chain side? And on our open chain side, that heaviness of the leg into the hip socket and the connection of the arms into the trunk. We're going to lower that leg back down again and we're going to alternate. So as we exhale, we're going to feel that stability through the body as we float the leg into our tabletop position. We're going to use an inhale breath to lower back down. So using the exhalation, feeling the relaxation or the dropping down and in of the sternum and the abdominal wall as we float the leg up, using the inhalation as we lower back down again. So you can notice as we're lifting up into that single leg lift, the pelvis wants to rotate. So can we focus on that recruitment pattern, helping to stabilize? Exhalation, sternum softens down, float the leg, use the inhale to place it back down. Feel the importance of the arm connection into the shoulder, into the torso, and then lower back down. One more, exhale, floating the right leg up, using the inhalation to lower down. Let's make it even. One more on left. Exhale, feel stability before you move, and then lowering back down. Good. From here, we're going to squeeze the knees and the ankles together. We're coming into our spine twist, supine. You can either have the arms down. I'd suggest bringing them to the side of the carriage there, or you can bring them up onto the shoulder rests and having the elbows nice and wide. So from here, I'm going to pull out through my arms to connect into the shoulder stability. I'm going to focus on, as I've adducted the legs, that connection through the inner thighs. So I'm just taking a moment to check that I'm still in my neutral zone through the pelvis and I haven't come into that posterior tilt. So using an inhale breath, we're going to roll the pelvis over to the right-hand side. Using the exhalation, we're going to draw back. Feel the relaxation of the sternum and the drawing back through the rib cage, waist, and pelvis to return. Sending the pelvis over to the left, breathing in, rotating the lumbar spine. And then using your exhalation to pattern the return, rib cage, waist, and pelvis. So let's continue with our spine twist. Can we focus on the importance of the inner thighs, the adductors stabilizing the legs as we take the rotation? And exhalation, that recruitment from the torso through the obliques back into the pelvis and legs. Breath in, rotating over to the left. Using that exhalation to initiate the return, ribs, waist, pelvis. One more on each side. Breath in, rotation through the lumbar spine, and exhale. Return back to the center. Mobilizing through the lumbar spine, inhale. And exhale, returning back. Rib, waist, and pelvis. Okay, good. Let's come up from here and we're going to change our reformer and get ready for our leg and footwork category. So coming around and popping the foot bar up, I'm going to place an extra red spring on. I've got 3 red. You work to your load. And we're going to lie ourselves back down in our supine position with our heels parallel and hip width. So can we have the heel pad or the heel just a little lower than the foot bar? So we're really in the center of the heel pad as we place the legs on parallel and hip width. Check that our heels are in line with our sitting bones. And just coming back down into our supine position, noticing the very different position of the leg within the hip. So from here, because we're in a deepened hip flexion position, there is going to be the tendency to come into that posterior tilt. So can we find our neutral zone? And can we find a connection of the leg spiraling or corkscrewing into the hip socket? So we've got the legs in our parallel position. I don't want to see change at the knee, but can we focus from the femoral head, rotating or spiraling into a slight external patterning to feel that active recruitment from our hamstrings? So in our neutral zone and connecting the palm of the hand into the shoulder girdle, we're going to press away using our exhalation breath, finding that initiation point from the hamstring. Exhale, we're pressing all the way out. Breathing in, controlling all the way in. So we're going to continue exhaling to press the legs out to straight and inhaling, returning with an active carriage. So we want to stay in that active zone all the way out to full knee extension and resisting and controlling all the way back in again. So we're getting that initiation point from the leg at the hip. Can we focus on length out through the whole spine and posture? So as we're extending the legs all the way out, how much taller can you get the crown of your head away from the foot bar? And can we resist and return the carriage back in again, keeping it active? So the exhalation presses us out to straight. We feel the length out through the crown of the head, and we're going to resist and return the carriage back in, finding that deepened connection from the foot into the hip. And push again, exhale. And returning back, inhale. Let's practice 2 more in our heels parallel, pushing out and returning back in, checking the neutral zone, connecting actively into those hip extensors. Press and return back in. Okay, from here we're going to go into our toes parallel. Can we feel that all the metatarsal heads are on? The toes are on the foot bar. The heel itself is going to stay still in space. And can we focus now on that connection from the toe down into the hip, pelvis and spine? So we're exhaling and we're pressing the legs out to straight. We're inhaling and resisting the return. We're pulling ourselves back into hip flexion, pushing through the toes. And resist and control back in again. So a lot more focus on that ankle stability now. And we imagine that between the inner ankle bones, we're drawing in gently towards our midline. So we're maintaining that connection through the adductors to control lateral ankle stability. As we're returning in, can we still focus on the head of the femur, turning out or corkscrewing into that hip socket, so we can feel the activity through the hip extensors as we press away. Exhale to push, and inhale, resist, staying active as we return. We've got 2 more, pressing out and resisting back in again. Final practice, exhale and inhale to return. So we're coming into our V position now. So this is just going to really bring home that recruitment pattern that I've been talking about. So squeezing those heels together in the small V. We're now in an external rotation through the thigh. So can we really focus in on that recruitment through those external rotators? So from here, we're exhaling to press away as we straighten. Do we have balance between those adductors and hip external rotators? And we're resisting back in again. So pushing from the hip, returning from the hip, maintaining that stability through the arch foot. That heel is staying still in space. Pressing out, exhale, returning back, resisting as we come in. Keep lengthening out through the crown of your head, both directions of our footwork. Let's practice 2 more. Feel the connection of the palm into the shoulder, into the trunk. That softening of the sternum imprinting through the torso. Last one. Sorry, I might have lost count. And come back in and rest. So we're going to bring the heels out wide next. Coming a little wider than our hip distance, we're still in that external rotation position. The heel is just a little lower than the foot bar, so we're right into the center of the heel pad. Now, there's more ability for the pelvis to move now, so can we find that neutral zone? Can we connect the leg into the hip? And can we push actively from the hip as we extend? And inhale as we resist back in again. Exhale as we press. And inhale as we resist to come back in. Let's practice 4 more. Pulling in. Exhale, press. Inhale, return. We've got one more. Okay, from here we're going to go into our raises. So can we bring the toes back on, parallel in hip distance? We're going to press the legs all the way out to straight. And from here, we're just going to go into our dorsiflexion, so lowering the heels underneath that foot bar and rising back up again. Now, how active can we stay through our movement pattern as we draw the heels under and rise the heels back up again? So we're making sure that we don't push down into a passive stretch. We're going to lower down with control and resistance, and then we're going to rise back up again. So are we still able to feel that connection from the foot into the foot bar, up into the leg hip, and from the hand into the shoulder and down into the trunk? I always like to use this focus on the crown of the head reaching away as the heels are lowering under and then rising back up through that ankle joint. Let's go 2 more. Lowering down and lifting up, maintaining activity throughout the range of movement. From here, let's bend those knees and control all the way back. Okay, good. I'm going to keep my spring tension the same as I go into single leg heels basic. So bringing the heels up on, parallel and hip distance. Let's fold the right leg up into our tabletop position. Just take a moment here. We've already patterned the recruitment in here. Can we find the activity in the open chain leg as well as the closed chain leg? And can we focus on that torso stability? So using our exhale breath, again, finding that initiation point from the hamstring as we press, and inhale as we control back in again, staying active as we push out through the carriage and as we resist and control back in again. Just noticing the change in the body, noticing that pull in rotation as we work unilaterally through the body, and the importance of connecting into the torso and actively into the leg hip. We're going to practice 2 more. Good, we've got an active dorsiflexion through both legs, and we're resisting back in again. So let's switch sides. Just making sure that when you return that leg, it is still in line with your sitting bone. Float the other leg up to tabletop, both ankles in active dorsiflexion, and help use that connection to draw into your hips before you push on your exhale, and resist the carriage back on your inhale. Press and resist coming back in that neutral zone with the pelvis. From the hamstring or hip extensors, we press and we control back into an active hip flexion. Let's practice 2 more on the second side. And last one. Good, that was a good challenge with that load. So from here, let's bring ourselves up off the reformer. We're coming into, supine arms 1 and 2. So I'm going to drop my spring down to 1 red. I've got my hand straps ready and active, so I'm going to lie back down. If you've got the 2 different straps, choose the one that's appropriate for you. I'm going to go short straps. Once I've got my hand into my strap, I'm in a new position, new proprioceptive feedback from the reformer now. I'm going to make a clasp around my strap, so making a fist, focusing on that neutral wrist alignment, strong straight arms, and really focusing on the alignment through the neck and the shoulders right now. We want the shoulder blades, the scapula to sit nice and broad on the back of the rib cage. We want to feel that the arm, though, is corkscrewing back into the shoulder socket. So a little bit of external rotation of the head of the humerus into the socket to find that stability. So from here, we're going to float the legs up into our tabletop position. We're going to feel that the feet are connected, the knees are apart at our hip distance. And we're going to use an exhale breath to initiate from the shoulder as we press both arms down in our parallel. We're going to inhale and lift the arms back up again. Every time we lift up, can we focus on the spiraling or corkscrewing back down into the shoulder? The exhale presses the arms down beside the hips. The inhale lifts the arms back up again. So feel the softening of the sternum and the recruiting of the movement from the shoulder joint. And then inhale, and we're going to draw back up again. Exhale, pressing down, feeling the length out through the crown of the head, and inhaling as we control and resist as we come back up again. So feel the connection from the hand into the strap, down through the arm, into the shoulder, into the trunk. So as we exhale, the dropping of the sternum, the pulling down of the humeral bone towards us, connects us into our torso. The inhalation challenges us to maintain the stability as we move the arm. Exhale, press down. Inhale to control back up again. So we're going to press the arms down and transition into our arms two, turning the palms to face in towards one another. We're going to use an inhale breath to reach both arms out to the side. Now, once we hit our side or wide position, can we feel the corkscrewing of the arm back into the shoulder joint before we press back down towards the pelvis? So we're going to breathe in, opening out, breathing out. That corkscrew spiral initiates the pulling in. Inhale, open the arms out. Draw the head of the humerus into the socket and push back down again. Inhale, we open. Exhale, soften the sternum, reach long and down through the arms. One more. And exhale to press down. From here, let's turn the palms to face back down, lifting the arms back up. We're going to go straight into our preparation for hundreds. So from here, we're using an exhale breath to curl the torso as we press the arms down parallel. And inhale, reach and lengthen to lower down. So as we exhale, soften the sternum and feel that strong forward push through the arm lines to curl. Inhale, actively lower back down to the carriage. Nod the chin, soften the chest, and press forward through the arms. Inhale as we lower back down. So we're feeling how the arms are assisting to mobilize that thoracic spine in flexion and control back down again, and working the abdominal wall quite hard as we come into that chest lift and lower back down again. One more practice. And we lower back down. Let's lower the legs back to the foot bar to rest. Okay, good. Let's bring ourselves back up to change our springs. So let's come into our leg strap work category. Popping, I've got one red and one blue, and finding the longer of the two loops if you've got that accessible to you on your reformer. And let's roll ourselves back down. So from here, I'm going to keep the feet on the foot bar. I'm going to hold those straps together and push out so that I can step the feet in to the foot straps. Taking a moment to just establish our start position for frogs. So we're in our small V position, hips are coming into that external rotated position. We've already been here for our leg and foot work. So can we focus on squeezing the heels? We're getting that corkscrew of the head of the femur down into the hip sockets. We're finding our neutral zone and our connection through the arms. Using that exhalation breath, we're pressing the legs out away from us. Using that inhalation, can we actively pull the hips back into flexion? Exhale. The breath stabilizes us through the pelvis and the lumbar spine as we extend the lever. We're going to breathe in to draw back into our hip flexion. So we're looking for that hip disassociation as we press the legs. We're looking through that stability through the pelvis and the lumbar spine as we come into hip flexion extension here. Exhale, push. And inhale, draw back in again. Now keep checking every time you pull back into that 90 that we are getting that corkscrew, we are getting that push from the hip extensors as we extend, and inhale, pulling actively back into hip flexion. Practicing 2 more. Exhale out. Inhale, pull back in. We're going to keep the legs straight on the next one. We're going to flex at the hip, bringing the legs as high up as we can maintain our neutral zone as we come into our wide openings. So you should feel that there's a challenge there on hamstring length. We're feeling like the ischial tuberosities are drawing out and down as the heel comes up. We're still in our active wrap of external rotation as our feet are in the V. Now the carriage stays still as we breathe in and open or abduct the legs. And we're going to exhale and adduct the legs, drawing the heels back together again. Now, can you maintain that external rotation spiral from the head of the femur? So we're opening, we're abducting the legs from the hip, and we're closing, we're exhaling and drawing those legs back together. Squeeze the heels as they connect, breathing in, open. So there's a little bit of downward or forward pressure of the legs into those foot straps to help maintain that pelvic stability and the carriage stable. Breathing in, we're opening out. Find a stretch through the adductors. And exhale, drawing back to close, feeling that strength. We've got one more. Breath in. And breath out. We're going to bend the legs back into our frog start position. Slide the carriage, or take the feet out of the straps, slide the carriage in, pop the feet onto the foot bar. So you can let those straps go. I'm going to quickly bring myself back up to sitting. Getting ready for our spinal articulation. We're going to take pelvic curl now with the feet up onto the foot bar. I'm going to add a red spring, take off a blue. So I've got 2 red springs on. You can stabilize that carriage as much or as little as you need. We're going to come back down into our start position. So the heels are back on parallel and hip width. And we're going to reach the arms nice and long down beside the body. So extra challenge through those hip extensors. Now that the legs are a little higher, we require more mobility through the pelvis and the spine to get up into our pelvic curl. So using an exhale breath, can we pattern our imprint? Can we feel the load shift into the feet? Can we really direct the knees forward over the toes as we come up into our bridge and our hip extension? Breath in at the top. And lowering back down, feeling the fall of the chest, dropping of the sternum away from the chin as we roll all the way back down to our supine position. Breath in. As we exhale, we imprint. Deepen the imprint by pressing the heels down into the foot bar, reaching the knee out over the toes. So fully extending the hip, feeling the demand on the hip extensors as we come up, feeling the connection of the arm assisting our lift, softening the sternum, feeling the articulation as we roll ourselves back down. Good, breath in at the bottom. Using the exhale, imprint. Feel the heaviness of the rib cage onto the carriage for as long as possible as you're bridging up into your pelvic curl. Controlling that torso and rib cage alignment as you extend fully through the hip. Using that exhalation, drop the sternum down, roll and articulate. Come all the way down. Let's practice one more. Breath in. Exhale, imprint. Rolling up through the lumbar spine. Rolling up as far as you can control that movement pattern. Keep the knees pulling forward over the toes, dropping the sternum down away from the chin, mobilizing that lumbar spine, and coming back into your supine position. Okay, good, hard work. Let's bring ourselves up now. We're shifting into our hip flexion 1 category, where we're just going to take a look at our knee stretch in round back and flat back. I'm going to drop my spring tension down to 1 red and 1 blue, and bringing myself up into my 4-point kneeling position. So check our start position. We're going to really curl the toes under, challenging the mobility of your big toe joint and trying to get the heel right back up against those shoulder rests. The knees are just making sure that they are in line with your shoulder rests. Now we're finding this connection of the palm of the hand onto the foot bar now. So new feedback. Can we feel, just like we did in our supine arms, we've got a grip around that foot bar. We've got strong, straight arms. We've got the scapula sitting in the slightly protracted position. So we're broad or hugging the scapula around the back of the rib cage, but we're still feeling the spiral of the head of the humerus into the shoulder socket and how that connects then down into the shoulder. Now, we're going to sit back into our hip and knee as much as we can to start off with. Now, from here, can we round the spine into our elongated C shape? Now, from here, we need to find a little bit more activity through the foot into our hip. So can we push the toes down and lift our sitting bones just up off our heels? And can we focus on maintaining that lumbar or imprint through the lumbar spine? So the spine and the arms stay still. We're active in our hip flexion position, and we're going to pattern a slow press back, breathing in, and a fast pull in as we breathe out. So slow, 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 and fast. Pushing and pulling back in. So we're looking for that hip disassociation. We're looking for that active push and pull through the legs, maintaining a strong connected position through the arm into the torso spine as we push away and pull back in again. Very challenging. Breathing in, we push back. Breathing out, we pull back. We're practicing 2 more. And then we're going to change into our flat back. So from here, feel the sitting bones open at the base of the pelvis. Feel the collarbones get a little broader, and feel how the sternum pulls away from the pubic bone to create that neutral. Find that active press down through the big toe and lift up into that active hip position. We're going to breathe in to press back. We're going to breathe out to quickly pull in and pull. Breath in and pull back in again. Good. So staying active through the arm, trunk, finding that control and range in your hip disassociation position, pushing actively back through the body. 2 more. And pull in and rest. Okay, good. From here, I'm going to take that blue spring off. I'm going to come into my basic lunge next, into my lunge category. So bringing yourself to the side of your reformer, tucking that foot in. So we've got that mobility through the big toe joint, ankle and heel. The knees resting down onto the carriage. Can we focus on an upright vertical lift up through your spine and posture? Really focusing or addressing what's happening at the hip. So with the knee on the carriage, can we focus on that side ASIS coming forward? Can we focus on pubic bone pulling up towards the sternum? Now the front knee is going to stay still. The head is reaching to the ceiling. We're pressing the leg back into hip extension for our stretch or length. From here, we're going to straighten the front leg out. We're going to bend the front knee back in, pulling ASIS towards the foot bar to return crown of the head to the ceiling. So pushing back, front knee stays still, back knee pushes away. From here, keep the back hip in extension as we straighten the front leg out. If you want to, you can peel the toes up off the floor into a dorsiflexion. We're going to pull the knee forward, actively pulling the carriage back in again, lengthening and getting up a little bit more into that vertical posture. Pushing the back leg away. Hip extension, lumbar extension. Press the front leg out. Now, can we actively pull back in again, drawing the pelvis towards the foot bar, reaching the spine up towards the ceiling? Good, other side. Finding that mobility in the big toe joint, ankle, foot. Stepping the other foot forward. I like to think in line with my foot bar. Everyone's reform is a little different. Everyone's range is a little different. Can we establish lift up in this vertical posture and really focusing on the sacrum or sitting bones dropping down, pubic bone pulling up, lengthening through the spine. From here, front knee stays still, back knee presses away. So we're getting that separation of the thighs there to stretch through the hip flexors, little lumbar extension. We're straightening that front leg into our hamstring stretch. We're pulling the carriage actively back in again, pulling ASIS towards the foot bar, lifting up vertically. Back knee pushes away. Front leg extends out. Pull back in again, controlling the return of the carriage, lifting up tall. Last one. And press. Drawing back in. And rest. Okay, from here, we're going to take our lateral flexion category. So we're going to come into our side reach. Can we come into our Z-sit, that internal external rotation of the hips? And we're going to place the hand onto the foot bar. And if we can have the hand situated just forward of the shoulder joint, we're going to make that fist around. So we're connecting unilaterally now from the hand into the shoulder joint. One red spring. So from here, we're going to practice our tilt. We're going to push from the hand, leaning the spine over to the side. Now, can we feel that connection from the hand into the shoulder? We're now taking the spine into a lateral flexion, moving from the head. So the ear drops towards the shoulder. We continue to laterally flex through the neck, through the rib cage. We're going to come back out into our tilt position, and we're going to control the reformer back in again. So initially, we're feeling that feedback from the hand into the shoulder as we press out into our lateral. From here, we're going lateral flexion of the spine, moving the head, neck, ribs over. Returning ourselves back to our long line reach, and then pull back in again. So establishing that connection from the palm into the push into the trunk. Focusing on the movement of the spinal joints as we come into our reach. Feeling how that opens up through the intercostals on the top side. We're going to draw back and we're going to come back in. We've got one more practice. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. And controlling back. Let's take that on the other side. So turning around. Into our Z-sit, internal, external rotation of the hip. Placing the hand just forward of the shoulder joint and establishing the grip of the hand, the alignment of opening through the collarbone and connecting or keeping the scapula nice and broad on the back of the rib cage. We're going to push out to our tilt. We're going to go into our lateral flexion, moving from the head on the neck. We're going to come back into our long tilt. And we're going to return the carriage back in again. So we're going to breathe in. We're pressing to our long line. We're going to exhale, move from the head, neck, down into the ribs, feeling the stretch, bringing ourselves back, feeling the control of the arm, shoulder, trunk, and returning back. We're going to press away in. Exhale, lateral flexion. Inhale, come back to your tilt and return in. Okay, so from here, we're going to go and find our long boxes, and we're just going to finish with our long box basic back extension. So finding the long box and placing that on your reformer according to your reformer. So I've got to go straps off and over the shoulder rests on this machine. And then from here, we're going to lie ourselves down in our prone position now. So let's just take a moment to come into some prone breathing. So check that the chest is over the edge. I'm going to let my hand, I'm going to actually move back a bit. I'm going to allow the forehead to rest gently down onto the hands there. And in this position, my legs are parallel and hip width. And I'm just focusing on where the weight is lying and distributed as I've changed the position of my body in relation to gravity. So can we find our neutral zones through the pelvis? So check where the weight is falling between the ASIS and the pubic bone. See if you can level that up. And we're just going to focus now on that, taking that inhalation and the expanding through the back of the rib cage, and how we can really access that lateral thoracic breath. And as we exhale, we're going to feel the relaxation, the drawing down and in towards the floor as the sternum pulls up towards the spine. So we're going to breathe in, inflating the back and the sides of the rib cage. And as we exhale, feeling the dropping of the chest and the pulling inward and upward of the sternum. One more practice. Inhale. And as we exhale, we're feeling the pull in of the sternum and the pull up gently, or the lightening of the abdominal wall off the box and into the spine. So we're going to bring that patterning now into our basic back extension. So chest is coming a little bit over the forward edge of your box. The legs are parallel in hip width and they're active. So can you feel energy reaching out through your big toe beyond the reformer? The palm of the hand is going to come on. Can we establish that grip and that connection from palm into shoulder joint? Now, with the foot bar in the way, we're forced to come up into a gentle thoracic extension as our start position. So how much can we pull the sternum forward away from the pubic bone, really focusing on the upper thoracic joints coming into that extension? Now, from here, the palm of the hand is connecting. We're feeling that external rotation spiral at the head of the humerus, and we're going to push up from there. We're going to use an inhale breath to swing the sternum up and forward as we push the carriage out, coming into extension through the spine. As we exhale, we're controlling the spine down as the carriage comes in, finishing in our extension position. So breathing in, sternum goes forward and up, feeling the feedback from the palm into the shoulder, and then we're controlling back down again. The spine returns back to our thoracic extension. Inhale, palm of the hand pushes, connects us into those thoracic extensors as we push up. And as we control back down again, feel the sternum pulling forward before it comes back under. Breathing in, sternum draws up, pattern your extension, pelvis stays heavy, lower back down again, elbows go wide as we return. Last practice, inhale, sternum comes up and forward, and exhale, we lower back down and we rest. Okay, from here, we're going to carefully come off the reformer and just into our release and cool down category. We're just going to do a standing roll down. So can we take a moment to feel our standing position? And can we relate what we were feeling in our reformer leg and footwork to how we're standing now quite actively through our posture? So feel the foot grounding, feel the foot up into the hip, nice and active. Feel the neutral zones through the pelvis and the spine, and feeling the connection of the arm into the shoulder and the alignment through the neck and the head. So taking an inhale breath to prepare. Using the exhale breath, we're going to nod the chin, soften the chest. We're going to roll down. Getting as much movement through the spinal joints as we can before we flex at the hip to bring our torso all the way down to the floor. Breath in. Exhale. Can we feel the foot grounding, the tummy drawing in, the sitting bones pulling towards the heels, and restacking from the foot up to the crown of the head. Can we imagine we're standing on the reformer for our footwork, reaching the crown of the head away from the foot bar as we stand tall? Using that exhalation, let's roll down, nod the chin, soften the sternum. Get as much movement through the spine in flexion before the hips start to flex and bring the torso all the way down. Breath in. Breath out to roll up, push the feet down. Roll the pubic bone towards the sternum to bring the pelvis back up onto the femurs, and roll ourselves back up to our upright. Last practice. Inhale, feel length. Exhale, control the nod, control the chest lift, control that roll down through spinal flexion and hip flexion. Breath in at the bottom. And breath out, press the feet. Return the pelvis back to upright. Return up through the lumbar spine, rib cage, shoulder girdle, neck, and head. And we're done. Thank you so much for joining me.